Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. You're with Joanne, the Learner Lawyer. I hope that this has come up unlisted, otherwise I'm in trouble, but that's good. I'm glad that you could join me. Well, as I predicted on my live last night, John Barilaro pled not guilty. The Sydney Morning Herald is the only paper that I could find that has done any reporting on the actual court hearing this morning. As I said, we went through, it was what's called a mention hearing, where the charges are read to him. He's asked whether he understands the charges and whether then he gets to enter a plea, guilty, not guilty. And so because he's now pled not guilty, it now goes to a contested hearing where it's decided whether there is anything for him to answer to. The witnesses will be discussed, evidence will be discussed, and then it goes to the hearing when the judge goes, so there's still a couple of stages go. So I think it's called a contest mention. So it says former Deputy Premier John Barilaro pleads not guilty to assaulting cameraman. So he pled not guilty. Footage of the scuffle shows Barilaro pushing freelancer cameraman Matt Costello and his camera from him before walking away and waiting at traffic lights to cross the road. Barilaro will vigorously defend the two charges. His lawyer, Danny Eade, said outside Manly Court on Wednesday, "We are not lying down on this one." At the time, Barilaro was under intense scrutiny when his controversial appointment of a $500,000 EU Trade Commissioner post in York became the subject of the parliamentary inquiry. Here it is. So you tell me what you think. This is what he's been charged. This will be important footage that the judge will get
4 out of 5 buyers expect an NBN connection in their new build, but that's not the only reason to include it in your development plans. Get support from our team who have delivered network access to more than 1.2 million new development premises nationwide.
It's still slow. It's still slow. Right, here we go. And there he is crossing the road. So that's 13 seconds of footage. Will be played in court probably. I would imagine that that's going to. I'm just wanting that to stop. So he's since withdrawn from the lucrative role. The parliamentary inquiry is set to resume this month. To come out and have a camera shoved in your face. I'm a private citizen. I left politics. Last year, I was confronted in the dark out the front of a bar. If that was you, how would you respond? All I did was push a camera out of my way. I did not manhandle an individual, Barilaro told Sydney radio station 2GB after the scuffle. I think he had been intruded and harassed. Costello's law firm, Xenophon Davis, for those of you who are regulars on this channel, that is Jordan Shanks's lawyer, Christo's lawyer, announced in August they would seek civil compensation for a broken camera and injured back. No claims have been filed yet. So Barilaro remains on bail, and the matter will return to court in December. So that will be the next hearing. So yes, he's still out on bail. So he would have paid bail when he was charged, and there would have been a bail hearing. So usually a bail hearing is done the moment you're charged. Some for those little offences usually can be done in the police. By a senior officer, or a bail justice can make that decision. Not all of them have to go before a magistrate. Some do. The more serious ones have to go before a magistrate for bail. But there's a whole table. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can pull it up. The timeline of the bail application. See if I can find the bail application. And again, I can only talk about Victoria because Victoria is the state that I live in. But there is a whole table here that they have to deal with. And so the whole point of it is to just, this is the New South Wales bail one. So this is all right. This will be better. So what they do is they have to, everything's a timeline, everything's a picture. Okay, so here we go. This is essentially this is essentially the process. So you're arrested and charged by police. Police grant bail, you're released with or without conditions. If they refuse bail, you are taken to court to make a bail application. Okay, now that's fine. It's standard, all right? So if, for example, you think you should get bail and you've not given bail, you can actually make a bail application and go before the court and let the court decide. But generally, police can grant bail for smaller offences. We'll get rid of this. Okay, so it goes to court. If show cause offence, you must show the show cause test, must convince the court why continued detention is not justified. So you have to talk about why you can't, why it's not justified. So is your show cause argument accepted by the court? There's a typo there. No, you have to be remanded in custody until your hearing. Yes, then you have to pass the unacceptable risk test. You must convince the court there is no unacceptable risk, despite concerns of failing to appear, committing further offences, endanger or interfere with the witnesses. And then if your unacceptable risk argument is accepted by the court, you're granted bail, released with conditions. If it's no, you go into custody. So if you can't show a cause why your detention is not justified, you go into unacceptable risk here. There has to be. So at the moment, because of still COVID-19 still playing a part, COVID-19 was actually a show cause. So it was a reason why detention is unjustified because of the courts being. So one of the reasons that you would give is that with the backlog due to COVID-19, my client would only really get 6 months in prison, and it's going to be 12 months before his case is heard or their case is heard. And therefore, detention is not justified because they'll be actually in prison longer than their actual sentence. They will be walking free. So that would be a reason why detention is not justified, for example. Another reason why detention may not be justified is if you have a serious medical condition and it needs ongoing treatment. That would be a reason, because this whole show cause test, and it can also be burden on the prison system, all of that. And then unacceptable risk. Is there there is no unacceptable risk. Are you going to appear on all your court dates? Are you going to commit any further offences? And if you can do that, if you can prove that you are going to appear, there's another typo. If you can show that you will appear to every court date, if you can prove that you aren't going to commit further offences, you've never committed offence. So if you've never committed offence before, and it's very unlikely that you're going to commit again, then you are probably going to be what they call your unacceptable risk argument is likely to be, and you'll have bail conditions. So that's how that is. So at the moment, Barilaro, he was granted police. My understanding is he was granted police bail, and so he is released on bail. I don't know what the bail conditions are. We don't know. So he's still out on bail. So let's have a look here. This is actually a really good one. So here are some of the conditions that you may get for bail. All right, you might have to report to a nearest police station. You may have to reside at a specific address. So as I said, if you've just done one crime, like just done one really silly thing, but you live in your own home, that's going to work in your favour. Curfew conditions, so you might have to be suing the police. So usually there's a security condition or bond bail for an acceptable person, a surety to deposit a certain sum of money. So some people will put their house down as surety. No, that's associated with certain people. Drug and alcohol tests, can't go to certain places, can't go, international electric monitoring. Although this one is still new, particularly in Victoria. So it's interesting that New South Wales has imposed electric monitoring condition. Interesting, but in Victoria it's not. My criminal law lecturer did a whole putting experts over this electric monitoring and was rejected. So it's interesting. The court can only impose bail conditions that the court considers safe enough to adequately address bail conditions. So, and again, it talks about what bail bond is. Do you get your money back once it's, yeah, you get your money back once it's all been done. And then, yeah, so that's, so as I said, this is New South Wales. So this is good that we're looking at Barilaro being in New South Wales. And this is a New South Wales. So, yeah, so this was the two tests. So you have two tests for bail. You must show the court why your continued detention is not justified. And secondly, for all charges, the court is satisfied that if you're released on bail, there will be no unacceptable risk. So that is what's had to be shown for Barilaro to be able to walk free. So anyway, I want to thank you for joining me, and I will catch you again next time. So yes, the news is that, as I suspected he would, he's been plead not guilty. He pled not guilty. So now we have to go to the next stage, which is a contested hearing, where they now talk about what evidence they've got, and the judge will decide whether or not there should be a hearing. They may decide, it may be determined that there is so much evidence against Barilaro, he's better off to plead guilty, and that can be done at that point. So you can change your plea at that point, and there's no changing your plea at any stage from not guilty to guilty that isn't used against you. In fact, if you plead guilty, you often will get a reduced sentence for pleading guilty. So that's just something to think about. So that's when all the evidence is presented towards the judge, and the judge goes, yeah, I think there's enough evidence to continue. We will take this now to a hearing, and then we'll continue on. Anyways, so thank you for joining me. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.